been living a lie, Marina." Darian's voice trembled as he stood in his penthouse, expensive whiskey untouched. "Everything you think you know about me is false." Marina froze, wedding ring suddenly heavy on her finger. Just yesterday, they'd celebrated their first anniversary with champagne and promises. Now her husband, the man whose face graced magazine covers, whose name dominated boardrooms, looked like a stranger. "My real name isn't Darian Voss. My company, my history, it's all fabricated. Have you ever discovered the person you love isn't who they claim to be? That moment when trust shatters like crystal hitting marble floors? When the man you married has been living a lie, how can you trust anything was real?" The shared laughter, whispered dreams, gentle touches, were they genuine or calculated moves in some elaborate game? Would you forgive someone who hid their entire identity, even if they did it for love? Even if behind that deception beat a heart truly devoted to yours? If you've ever questioned someone's true intentions or struggled with trust, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your stories of relationships tested by secrets. Now, my family, I know some of you haven't subscribed yet. Now tell me, why haven't you subscribed? Are you not sure of our beautifully crafted story yet? Or are you busy? Are you tired? Or probably you are not satisfied with my stories. If you are satisfied, I want you to comment a big yes, I am satisfied. Something big is coming your way this week. I just want you to believe that. And please, as usual, don't forget to comment where you are watching from, and in case you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I really and truly love you all. Now let's begin. Darian Voss wasn't born with a silver spoon. At 36, he stood at the helm of Voss Enterprises, a technology conglomerate that transformed how the world communicated. But 20 years ago, he was just a 16-year-old boy with calloused hands from construction work and dreams bigger than his small-town origins. "You'll never amount to anything special," his stepfather had told him repeatedly. Those words, meant to crush, became the foundation upon which Darian built his determination. He arrived in New York with $237 in his pocket, a scholarship to Columbia University, and an unrelenting hunger to prove everyone wrong. While classmates partied, Darian worked 3 jobs and slept 4 hours nightly. He graduated summa cum laude, then entered the corporate battlefield where he quickly distinguished himself as both brilliant and ruthless. By 28, he had launched Voss Enterprises. By 32, he had transformed it into a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Now Forbes regularly featured him as one of America's most eligible bachelors. Handsome, powerful, untouchable. But success came with sacrifice. Darian's apartment, though luxurious, felt hollow. His dating history consisted of strategic appearances with models and socialites, relationships manufactured for publicity rather than connection. He'd become exactly what he'd set out to be, exceptional, yet utterly alone. Marina never expected to be abandoned twice in one lifetime. First by parents who left her on church steps as an infant, then by her fiancé who disappeared 3 days before their wedding, leaving only a note, "I can't do this." At 27, she'd rebuilt her life from those ashes. Though she lacked formal education beyond community college, Marina possessed something rarer, resilience. After her heartbreak, she channeled her pain into helping others, volunteering at the women's shelter that once housed her during her darkest days. "Your worth isn't determined by who stays and who leaves, Mrs. Chambers," the shelter director had told her. "It's determined by who you choose to become despite it all." Marina became a force of quiet strength. She worked as an administrative assistant during the day and pursued her passion for art therapy in evenings, helping traumatized women express what words couldn't capture. Her smile came easily despite her scars, perhaps because of them. Men occasionally expressed interest, but Marina kept them at a careful distance. "My heart's like a house that survived a hurricane," she once told her friend Zoe. "The foundation's solid now, but I'm still fixing the windows." "This is completely unacceptable," Darian's voice cut through the gallery's hushed atmosphere. The entire point of sponsoring this charity event was visibility. How will anyone know Voss Enterprises supports arts therapy if we're tucked away in the corner? The event coordinator visibly trembled. "I'm sorry, Mr. Voss, but find a solution," he interrupted. "Now." Marina, arranging her students' artwork nearby, overheard the exchange. Normally she avoided confrontation, but something about this man's coldness stirred her. "Excuse me," she said, approaching them. "Perhaps I could help?" Darian turned. irritation flashing across his face before freezing as their eyes met. Marina didn't flinch under his gaze. "And you are?" he asked, voice unexpectedly softer. "Marina Vale. I'm one of the art therapists whose work your company is supposedly supporting tonight." The supposedly wasn't lost on Darian. One eyebrow raised slightly. "I see. And how exactly might you help, Ms. Vale? The corner location actually offers better lighting for viewing artwork. Plus, it creates an intimate atmosphere that encourages deeper conversation about these pieces and the women who created them." She motioned toward a painting. "These aren't just pretty pictures, they're stories of survival. People will remember your company's contribution more if they connect emotionally rather than just seeing your logo plastered everywhere." Darian studied her face, searching for ulterior motives but finding none. Most people either feared or flattered him. This woman did neither. "An interesting perspective," he finally said. "Very well, we'll try it your way." Later that evening, Darian found himself lingering near Marina's display, watching as she passionately explained the therapeutic process to attendees. Something about her authenticity drew him, like a man who'd been served artificial sweetener his entire life suddenly tasting real honey. "Your students' work is remarkable," he said, approaching her during a quiet moment. "They're remarkable women," Marina replied. "Art just helps others see what I already know is there, and what's that? Beauty and brokenness." She met his gaze, something most people overlook because they're too focused on perfection. Her words hit uncomfortably close to home. For the first time in years, Darian felt seen, not as Voss Enterprises' CEO, but as the broken boy still trying to prove his worth. "I'd like to increase our foundation support for your program," he said abruptly. Marina smiled. "That's generous. But first, maybe you should actually learn what we do, beyond using us for corporate Instead of anger, Darian felt refreshed by her honesty. "Fair enough. Perhaps you could show me sometime? I teach Wednesday evenings at the East Side Women's Center." "I'll be there." Wednesday arrived, and Marina had almost forgotten about Darian's statement, assuming it was just empty corporate talk. So when the center's receptionist called, voice pitched high with excitement, "Marina, Darian Voss is here to see you," she nearly dropped her coffee. Walking into the lobby, she found him looking distinctly out of place in his tailored suit among the center's worn furniture and motivational posters. "You actually came," she said, not bothering to hide her surprise. "I said I would." His tone suggested keeping his word was a matter of course. "Well, you're overdressed." She gestured to his attire. "Art therapy gets messy." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across his face. "I came directly from a board meeting. I didn't think—" "It's fine," Marina interrupted, her expression softening. "We keep spare clothes for situations like this, though I doubt we have anything that costs more than your tie." To her surprise, Darian loosened said tie and removed it. When "Lead the Way, Ms. Vale" that evening altered something fundamental in Darian. Watching Marina guide women through creating mandalas, symbols of wholeness and integration, he witnessed genuine transformation happen in real time. These women, many broken by abuse and abandonment, creating beauty despite their circumstances. "Why mandalas?" he asked her afterward as they cleaned paintbrushes. "They represent wholeness emerging from chaos," Marina explained. "Something these women need to believe is possible." She paused. "Something everyone needs to believe, really." Darian nodded, thinking of the chaos behind his carefully constructed life. "Does it work? This therapy? It's not magic, it's a process." Marina smiled. "But yes, it works if you're willing to be honest about your brokenness first." Her words lingered with him long after he returned to his penthouse that night. Have you ever connected with someone who saw beyond your carefully constructed facade? That person who recognized your true self behind the masks we all wear? Share your experience in the comments. I'm curious how many of you have found that rare person who sees your authentic self. For 3 consecutive Wednesdays, Darian appeared at the Women's Center. Each week, he arrived in expensive suits, but willingly changed into donated sweatpants and t-shirts that stretched awkwardly across his broad shoulders. The transformation wasn't just in his clothing. The rigid CEO visibly softened in Marina's art room. By the 3rd week, the women had stopped whispering about him, and instead welcomed Mr. D with comfortable familiarity. He helped mix paints, learn names, listen to stories that would never make corporate boardroom conversations. "You're different here," Marina observed as they cleaned up after class. "Different how?" Darian asked, methodically washing brushes with a precision that reflected his corporate attention to detail. Less fortress-like, She gestured vaguely at him. Your shoulders drop about 2 inches. You actually smile with your eyes, not just your mouth. Darian paused, surprised by her observation. Nobody in his world noticed such things, or dared mention them if they did. Perhaps it's the company, he said, gaze lingering on her face. Speaking of which, would you have dinner with me tomorrow night? Marina's brush clattered into the sink. Dinner? As in I'd like to continue our conversation somewhere that doesn't smell like acrylic paint and instant coffee. His attempt at lightness fell slightly flat, revealing uncharacteristic nervousness. Marina studied him, weighing possibilities against past wounds. This isn't about additional funding for the center, is it? It's about wanting to know more about Marina Vale, he replied simply. The woman, not the therapist. Her heart quickened despite her caution. All right, but nothing extravagant. I'm not comfortable in places where the menu has no prices. Darian smiled, a genuine one that transformed his entire face. I know just the place. Jasper Denton, Darian's CFO and closest confidant, leaned against the doorframe of Darian's office. You're leaving at 6? Who are you, and what have you done with Darian Voss? Darian continued gathering his belongings. I have plans. You always have plans. They typically involve spreadsheets and acquisition meetings, not... He checked his watch, leaving during daylight hours. It's dinner. A business dinner that couldn't be scheduled at your usual 8 p.m. slot. When Darian remained silent, understanding dawned on Jasper's face. Wait, an actual date? With a woman? A human woman? Your hilarity knows no bounds, Darian said dryly. Who is she? Please tell me it's not Victoria Chen from SteelTech. The woman's brilliant but terrifying. Her name is Marina. She's an art therapist. Jasper's eyebrows nearly reached his hairline. An art therapist. Not a CEO, lawyer, or someone featured in Fortune magazine's 30 Under 30 Feet? Surprised? It wasn't a question. She's different, Darian admitted. Refreshing. Well, try not to talk about quarterly projections all night, Jasper advised with a grin. And maybe, just maybe, consider letting her see the real Darian Voss, not the robot we've all come to know and tolerate. Your counsel is, as always, indispensable, Darian replied sarcastically. But Jasper's words lingered as he drove to his penthouse to change. The real Darian Voss. Did such a person even exist anymore? Marina had expected Darian to disregard her request for simplicity, so when his sleek Aston Martin pulled up outside a modest Italian restaurant in her neighborhood, one with checkered tablecloths and family photos lining the walls, surprise and appreciation bloomed within her. Antonios, she asked as he opened her car door, how did you know about this place? Research is what I do. Darian looked almost boyish in dark jeans and a simple button-down shirt. Inn it has excellent reviews for authenticity. The owner emigrated from Naples in the 70s. Inside, the elderly Antonio himself greeted them with boisterous warmth, showing no recognition of the famous CEO. Their table sat in a quiet corner, candlelight dancing across red wine in simple glasses. Marina watched Darian take in the homey atmosphere, so different from the Michelin-starred establishments that typically hosted his business dinners. Is this too rustic for your tastes? She asked. It's perfect, he replied, surprising himself with his sincerity. Sometimes the most meaningful experiences come without pretense. Over homemade pasta and tiramisu, conversation flowed easier than either had anticipated. Marina shared stories of her childhood in foster care, the challenges, but also the unexpected kindnesses that shaped her. Darian spoke of his relentless climb from poverty, revealing vulnerabilities he typically kept locked away. Success was my armor, he admitted. Every promotion, every acquisition was another layer of protection. Protection from what? Marina asked softly. Darian swirled his wine, considering. From being that powerless kid again. From anyone seeing weakness. Yet here you are, telling me about it. His eyes met hers. Yet here I am. As Antonio's began closing, they realized 3 hours had passed in what felt like minutes. Outside, a light rain had begun falling. Marina tilted her face upward, letting droplets touch her skin. Most people run from rain, Darian observed, watching her. I've always loved it, she replied. Rain washes everything clean, gives second chances. He stepped closer, drawn by something he couldn't name. Do you believe in those, second chances? I have to, Marina said. Otherwise, what's the point of surviving the storm? Standing there, rain-kissed and vulnerable, Marina embodied everything his world lacked. Authenticity, warmth, resilience without hardness. Before he could overthink, Darian leaned down and kissed her, tentatively at first, then with growing certainty as she responded. When they separated, both seemed equally surprised by the connection that hummed between them. "I should get you home," he said softly. "Yes," she agreed, though neither moved immediately. That night, alone in his penthouse, Darian realized he hadn't checked his phone once during their entire evening, a first in over a decade. Their relationship developed in stolen moments, dinners at hidden gems throughout the city, Sunday mornings in quiet cafes, walks through parks where autumn painted everything gold. For Marina, seeing the gentler side of the notorious CEO was like witnessing a wall slowly coming down, brick by careful brick. For Darian, Marina's company offered something his success never had: peace. When his phone constantly buzzed with notifications, she gently suggested he silence it. "The world can survive without Darian Voss for an hour," she'd say with a smile that made him believe it might be true. But reality intruded 6 weeks into their relationship, when Darian's board proposed acquiring Nexus Technologies, a struggling company whose greatest asset was its art therapy software designed for trauma recovery. "It's the perfect opportunity," explained Rebecca Hargrove, his director of acquisitions. "Nexus is hemorrhaging money. We can acquire them for a fraction of their value, strip the company for its intellectual property, and integrate it into our healthcare division." "And the employees?" Darian asked, thinking of Marina's passion for therapy. Rebecca shrugged. "Standard acquisition protocol. We'll retain key engineers but restructure the rest." Once, Darian wouldn't have hesitated. Business was business. Emotional considerations only weakened strategy. But now, Marina's voice echoed in his mind. Behind every spreadsheet are real people with real lives. "I want complete personnel files before any decisions," Darian said finally. "And find out who's using their software, what communities would be affected." The boardroom fell silent. This wasn't the Darian Voss they knew. "Since when do we factor social impact into acquisition strategy?" Rebecca asked, confusion evident. "Since now," Darian replied with finality. "Prepare the reports by Monday." Later, Jasper cornered him in his office. "This is about Marina, isn't it?" "This is about making informed decisions. The Darian I've known for 15 years would have closed that deal today." Darian sighed, rubbing his temples. "Maybe you should have questioned more deals." "She's changing you," Jasper said, not unkindly. "Just be careful. The board senses weakness like sharks sense blood." Marina noticed subtle shifts in Darian as their relationship deepened. The way he listened more carefully to her shelter students, how he asked questions about impact rather than efficiency. His growing discomfort when friends made dismissive comments about bleeding heart charities. One evening, entering her apartment with takeout containers, Darian found Marina surrounded by paperwork, distress evident on her face. "What's wrong?" he asked, setting down their dinner. "Budget cuts," she rubbed her eyes. "The center's main grant wasn't renewed. Without new funding, we'll have to cut the art therapy program entirely." Darian's immediate impulse was simple. He could write a check that would solve everything. Before Marina, that would have been his solution. Throw money at problems, expect gratitude, move on. "Let me help," he said carefully. "Voss Foundation could—" "No." Marina's response came swiftly. "I appreciate the thought, but I can't build my program on my boyfriend's charity." "It wouldn't be charity," Darian countered. "It would be investment in proven therapeutic methods, which would look like favoritism because we're involved." She sighed. "I need to find independent funding, or the program needs to prove its value more clearly to the existing donors." Frustration flickered across Darian's face. In his world, problems had clear solutions. Marina's principled stance baffled him. "That's admirable but impractical," he said finally. "Pride won't help your students." Marina stiffened. "It's not pride, it's integrity. Something business might approach differently. Meaning? Meaning sometimes I wonder if you see value only in things with measurable returns," she said, immediately regretting her words when hurt flashed in his eyes. "Is that how you see me? As someone who only values profit?" "No," she said softly. "But our worlds are very different, Darian. Sometimes I don't know if they can truly fit together." The evening ended awkwardly, both retreating to their separate corners. Driving home, Darian realized this was their first real argument, not about them personally, but about the fundamental values that defined them. The question lingered: could the ruthless CEO and the compassionate therapist find lasting common ground? Do you believe people from completely different worlds can build something meaningful together? Or do our core values need to align from the start? Comment below with your thoughts on whether opposites can truly make a relationship work long term. Have you ever dated someone whose worldview challenged yours? How did it change you? Please, in case you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button for more outstanding stories like this. The Nexus Technologies acquisition moved forward, despite Darian's unusual hesitation. Behind closed doors, boardroom whispers questioned his sudden interest in humanitarian considerations. Rebecca Hargrove particularly took notice, her ambition barely concealed beneath professional smiles. "When the board is concerned," she told Jasper during a private lunch. Voss never delayed acquisitions before. Now suddenly he's worried about community impact? Jasper kept his expression neutral. He's considering all angles. That's what made him successful. Or someone is influencing his decisions, Rebecca replied. This girlfriend, the art therapist. Have you met her? Briefly, Jasper lied, having deliberately avoided meeting Marina to maintain plausible deniability in such conversations. Well, I've done some research, Rebecca said, sliding a folder across the table. Marina Vale, foster child, community college education, abandoned by her fiancé 4 years ago. Apparently he disappeared days before their wedding. Quite the sob story. Jasper frowned. You investigated Darian's girlfriend? I investigated a potential liability to our company. Rebecca's perfectly manicured nail tapped the folder. The board needs to know if she's manipulating him. Gold diggers come in many forms, Jasper. This crosses a line, he said, pushing the folder back. Lines get crossed when billions are at stake. She stood to leave. If you won't read it, someone else will. The board meeting's Thursday. They'll want answers about his shifting priorities. After she left, Jasper stared at the folder, loyalty to his friend warring with concern about the corporate sharks circling. Finally, he took the file but didn't open it. Darian deserved to know what was happening. Meanwhile, oblivious to the corporate machinations, Darian and Marina reconciled after their funding disagreement. Rather than imposing a solution, Darian listened, truly listened, to Marina's concerns. Together they developed a strategy. Marina would continue seeking independent grants, while Darian would connect her with his network of philanthropists, introductions only, no pressure. This compromise marked a turning point in their relationship. For the first time, Darian experienced partnership rather than control, finding unexpected fulfillment in collaborative problem-solving rather than unilateral decision-making. 3 months into their relationship, Darian invited Marina to his penthouse for the first time. Her eyes widened as the private elevator opened directly into his home. 5,000 square feet of minimalist luxury with floor-to-ceiling views of Manhattan. This is overwhelming, she said honestly, taking in the stark white furniture, abstract art, and distinct absence of anything personal. Too much? He asked, watching her reaction closely. It's beautiful, but it doesn't feel like you. Marina walked to his bookshelf, the only area showing signs of actual use. No photos, no mementos. I don't collect sentimental items. She picked up his Columbia graduation photo, the sole personal image in the entire apartment. Young Darian, you look serious even then. In the photo, 22-year-old Darian stood alone in cap and gown, his expression determined rather than joyful. I was serious about succeeding, he said, joining her. Who took this photo? A shadow crossed his face. A classmate. I didn't have family there. Marina placed the frame down gently. You've been alone a long time, haven't you? Instead of deflecting as he typically would, Darian simply nodded. It became easier than the alternative. Without speaking, Marina wrapped her arms around him, resting her head against his chest. For several moments they stood in silence, his heartbeat steady against her cheek. That night, after Marina fell asleep in his bed, Darian watched her peaceful face and realized with startling clarity that his life before her had indeed been a museum, perfect, impressive, and utterly lifeless. The following week, as Marina prepared for a weekend at Darian's Hamptons house, she searched his bathroom for an extra phone charger he'd mentioned. Opening a drawer, she found prescription bottles instead, several of them, Zoloft, Ambien, Xanax. Marina frowned, concern replacing curiosity. These weren't occasional medications, but regularly refilled prescriptions, some dating back years. Darian had never mentioned struggling with anxiety, depression, or sleep issues. She closed the drawer, respecting his privacy while wrestling with the realization that the confident CEO lived with invisible battles. It explained certain behaviors, his occasional withdrawal, the intensity that sometimes bordered on obsession, his difficulty relaxing. That evening, as they prepared dinner together in his sleek kitchen, Marina carefully broached the subject. "I accidentally found your medications today," she said gently. "I was looking for the charger." Darian's hand stilled over the cutting board. "I see. You never mentioned them. It's not something I discuss." His voice had taken on the clipped tone she recognized as his defense mechanism. "Depression and anxiety don't diminish you, Darian." He continued chopping vegetables with mechanical precision. "But I don't have depression or anxiety. I have a high-stress position that occasionally requires pharmaceutical management." That's quite the corporate rebrand of mental health challenges," Marina said softly. His knife paused again. "My mental state is efficiently managed. It doesn't affect my performance." "I'm not worried about your performance." She placed her hand over his. "I'm concerned about your habit of hiding anything you perceive as weakness, even from me." For a moment, she thought he might withdraw entirely. Instead, he exhaled slowly. "It started in college," he finally said. "Panic attacks during finals. Later, insomnia when acquisitions were pending. The medications helped me function. And the facade of invulnerability? What does that help with?" "But no one loves a person who never allows themselves to break," Marina countered gently. The word love hung between them, unplanned but undeniable. Neither had said it yet, though they'd been circling the sentiment for weeks. "Are we talking about love, Marina?" Darian asked, voice uncharacteristically hesitant. She didn't retreat. "And I think we might be." That night, in the darkness of his bedroom, walls carefully constructed over decades began crumbling as Darian shared fragments of his internal struggles. The crippling pressure he placed on himself, the fear that success was the only thing making him worthwhile, the exhaustion of maintaining constant strength. Marina listened without judgment, occasionally wiping tears from his face, tears he hadn't allowed himself to shed since childhood. When dawn broke, something fundamental had shifted between them, something irreversible. Jasper finally showed Darian the folder Rebecca had compiled. "She's digging into Marina's past," he explained grimly. "The board meeting tomorrow isn't just about Nexus. They're questioning your judgment, your focus." Darian's expression hardened as he scanned the contents. "They investigated my personal life? They're framing it as due diligence, protecting company interests. By invading privacy and treating my girlfriend like a security threat?" Darian slammed the folder shut. "Rebecca's overstepped." "She's not alone," Jasper cautioned. "Harrison and Wilcox are backing her. They're suggesting Marina is using you to further her own agenda." "What agenda could an art therapist possibly have?" "They've connected dots that aren't there. Your interest in trauma recovery software, your sudden concern for social impact, the timing of meeting Marina." Understanding dawned on Darian's face. "They think she orchestrated our meeting to influence the Nexus acquisition, among other things." Jasper hesitated. "And there's more. They've requested financial audits of all your recent charitable contributions, looking for improper allocations to Marina's programs." At fury and disbelief warred on Darian's face. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd specifically avoided directly funding Marina's work to prevent exactly such accusations. "They're manufacturing a scandal where none exists," Darian said coldly. "Prepare a complete record of my charitable giving for the past 5 years, every dollar, every recipient, and schedule an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. I'll address this directly." After Jasper left, Darian paced his office, torn between protecting Marina from this ugliness and being honest with her. Their relationship had reached a place of genuine trust. Hiding this situation felt wrong, yet involving her in corporate politics seemed equally unfair. His phone lit up with a message from Marina. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Made reservations at Antonio's to celebrate our 4-month anniversary." The simple sweetness of it contrasted sharply with the corporate venom he was facing. 4 months, such a brief time, yet Marina had transformed his existence from monochrome to vibrant color. For the first time in his career, Darian realized something more important than Voss Enterprises existed in his life. Marina knew something was wrong the moment Darian entered Antonio's. His smile didn't reach his eyes, and tension radiated from his shoulders. "What happened?" she asked, foregoing greetings. He hesitated, then decided on complete honesty. "My board is investigating you." Marina blinked. "Investigating me? For what?" "They believe you're using our relationship to manipulate business decisions. Specifically, that you engineered our meeting to influence acquisitions that would benefit your work." She stared, momentarily speechless. "That's absurd." I didn't even know who you were when we met." "I know that," he assured her, "but they've constructed a narrative that fits their concerns about changes in my leadership approach." "Changes like what?" "Like considering social impact alongside profit, questioning aggressive acquisition tactics." He reached for her hand. "Changes you've inspired, though not through manipulation." Marina withdrew her hand, processing. "So being with me is damaging your business reputation?" "No," Darian said firmly. "Small-minded board members are interpreting positive growth as weakness. There's a difference." "What aren't you telling me?" she asked, sensing his continued tension. Darian sighed. "They've compiled a file on you. Your foster care background, your exfiance, financial struggles. They're using your past to paint you as someone looking for security through me." Pain flashed across Marina's face. "They researched my private life, my past trauma?" "I'm handling it," he assured her. "Tomorrow's board meeting will make it clear such tactics are unacceptable." Marina fell silent, pushing pasta around her plate. The anniversary celebration atmosphere had evaporated completely. "Oh, maybe we should take a step back," she finally said quietly. Darian froze. "What do you mean?" "I mean, your career is important. Your company is your life's work. If our relationship is causing problems—" "No," he interrupted firmly. "My company is what I do, not who I am. That distinction has become very clear since meeting you. Darian, Marina, listen to me." He leaned forward intensely. "Before you, success was my only measure of worth. Now I understand there's more to life than quarterly reports and stock prices. I don't want to be the reason your board turns against you. You're the reason I finally recognize which battles matter." He reached for her hand again, and this time she didn't pull away. "I love you, Marina. I'm not letting corporate politics take that away." The words hung between them, his first declaration of love, offered not in a romantic moment, but in defiance of outside forces threatening their bond. "I love you too," she whispered, eyes glistening, "but I'm scared. Powerful people can do real damage when they feel threatened." "Let them try," Darian said with quiet determination. "Some things are worth fighting for." "What would you fight for, regardless of consequences?" "Is love worth risking a career you've spent decades building? Share your thoughts about choosing between professional success and personal happiness. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice between your heart and your ambitions? Let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe. Darian arrived at Voss Enterprises headquarters at 6 a.m., hours before the emergency board meeting. He needed time to prepare, to center himself before the confrontation. The office felt different now. The gleaming glass and steel that once represented his greatest achievement now seemed hollow compared to what waited for him outside these walls. Jasper found him reviewing documents in the conference room. "Everything's ready," Jasper said, placing a thick binder before him. 5 years of charitable contributions, all authorized through proper channels. Nothing inappropriate. "And Marina's Center? Not a single direct contribution from you or your personal foundation. Only the standard corporate sponsorship approved unanimously by the board 6 months ago, before you even met her." Darian nodded. "Rebecca won't back down easily. She's been waiting for an opportunity like this." "She underestimates you," Jasper replied. "Always has." By 9 a.m., 12 board members filed into the conference room, faces carefully neutral except for Rebecca Hargrove, whose triumphant smile suggested she believed victory was imminent. "Thank you all for coming," Darian began once everyone was seated. "I understand concerns have been raised about my leadership and personal relationships. Let's address them directly." Rebecca straightened. "The board has questions about potential conflicts of interest regarding your relationship with Marina Vale and recent business decisions, specifically the Nexus Technologies acquisition delay and your sudden interest in their trauma recovery software." "Legitimate concerns," Darian acknowledged calmly. "Let me clarify several points. First, my interest in Nexus predates meeting Ms. Vale by 8 months, as documented in preliminary acquisition research initiated last January." He slid reports across the table. "Second, regarding charitable contributions, this binder contains 5 years of complete records. You'll note no improper allocations to Ms. Vale's programs or affiliated organizations." Rebecca's smile faltered. "Third, and most importantly," Darian continued, voice hardening, "an investigation into Ms. Vale's personal history represents a severe ethical breach I cannot overlook." Murmurs rippled through the room. "We have a responsibility," Rebecca began. "You have a responsibility to respect boundaries," Darian interrupted. Digging into my girlfriend's foster care records and previous relationships crosses every professional and ethical line. Several board members shifted uncomfortably. If her background affects company interests. Rebecca tried again. Her background, Darian cut in, includes surviving abandonment and building a career helping traumatized women heal through art. If that somehow threatens Voss Enterprises, perhaps we should reconsider what this company stands for. Arnold Wilson, the eldest board member, cleared his throat. Darian, no one questions your dedication to this company, but your behavior has changed. Acquisition delays, social impact concerns, these aren't consistent with your prior leadership style. You're right, Arnold. My perspective has evolved. Darian looked around the table. For 15 years, I have built this company focusing exclusively on growth and profit. That approach brought tremendous financial success, but left other values unexplored. He stood, commanding the room with quiet authority. Marina Vale hasn't manipulated my business decisions. She's reminded me that compassionate leadership and profitability aren't mutually exclusive. That perspective makes me a better CEO, not a compromised one. Rebecca scoffed. Pretty words, but business isn't about feelings. No, Darian agreed. It's about sustainable growth, innovation, and creating value. Show me where my recent decisions have damaged those objectives. Silence fell as board members exchanged glances. Our stock has risen 18% this quarter, Jasper added helpfully. Employee retention is at a 5-year high. The Nexus delay resulted in a more advantageous purchase price when we identified their cash flow problems. My personal life is my own, Darian concluded. My leadership remains strong. If anyone feels they cannot support this company's direction under my guidance, I'll accept your resignation immediately. His gaze rested pointedly on Rebecca, whose face had flushed with anger and embarrassment. The vote that followed was 10-2 in Darian's favor. Rebecca and one ally stood opposed, but the message was clear. Darian Voss remained firmly in control. Meeting adjourned, he announced, gathering his materials. Rebecca, a word in my office. The private conversation was brief and decisive. By afternoon, Rebecca Hargrove had cleared her desk, her resignation effective immediately. That evening, Darian recounted the board meeting to Marina over dinner at her apartment. Her modest one-bedroom felt infinitely more comforting than his penthouse after the day's events. You stood up to your entire board for me, Marina said, still processing. You risked everything. Not everything, Darian corrected. I would have risked everything by losing you. Marina squeezed his hand, but something troubled her expression. What's wrong? He asked. She hesitated. Won't this file they compiled about me? What exactly did it say about my ex-fiancé? Just that he abandoned you before your wedding. Darian studied her. Why? Marina took a deep breath. There's something I haven't told you. Something I should have shared sooner. Darian waited, tension creeping into his shoulders. My ex, Eric, he didn't just leave, he disappeared completely. Marina's voice quavered slightly. No contact with friends or family. His bank accounts untouched. His car found at the airport with no record of him boarding any flights. Darian frowned. That sounds like a potential crime, Marina finished. Yes, police investigated for months. They suspected I might be involved, given the timing. It was intense. Why didn't you tell me this? Because it's the darkest chapter of my life, she admitted. Being abandoned was painful enough. Being suspected of involvement in his disappearance was devastating. Eventually, they found evidence he'd been planning to leave for months. Hidden bank accounts, a secret phone. They concluded he orchestrated his own disappearance. Did they know where he went? Marina shook her head. When a case remains technically open but inactive, I've spent 4 years rebuilding my life from that trauma. It's not something I discuss casually, even with people I trust. Darian processed this revelation, understanding dawning. This is why you're so cautious about our relationship, why you needed time to trust me. Yes, she whispered, and why the board's investigation felt so violating. I've already had my life dissected by detectives and journalists. Darian pulled her into his arms. I'm so sorry, Marina, for all of it. And I should have told you earlier, she said against his chest. Since I was afraid it would change how you saw me. It does change how I see you, he said softly. And it makes your strength even more remarkable. That night marked another deepening of their bond, secrets revealed, vulnerabilities shared, acceptance offered without reservation. 6 months into their relationship, Darian had never been happier. The corporate drama had settled. His leadership position was secure. Most importantly, Marina had become the center of his world, his partner, confidant, and the person who made his luxurious penthouse finally feel like home. They'd established comfortable routines, Sunday brunches at local cafes, Wednesday evening art classes, quiet nights reading together on his balcony overlooking the city. Marina had even carved out a small studio space in his penthouse, adding bright colors and creative chaos to his formerly pristine home. Her toothbrush in his bathroom, her favorite tea in his kitchen, her laughter echoing through rooms that had known only silence. These simple additions transformed everything. So when Marina called on a Tuesday afternoon asking if they could meet urgently, alarm bells sounded in Darian's mind. "Is everything okay?" he asked, already signaling his assistant to cancel his remaining meetings. "I'm fine," Marina assured him. "Just need to talk. In person." He found her waiting in Bryant Park, hands fidgeting nervously as she watched children playing nearby. Her smile seemed strained when she spotted him approaching. "What's wrong?" he asked immediately. "Nothing's wrong," Marina said, though her voice trembled slightly. "Just unexpected." She took his hand, placing it gently against her still flat stomach. For a moment, Darian didn't understand. Then realization dawned, his eyes widening. "You're pregnant?" he whispered. Marina nodded, watching his reaction carefully. "Yes, and there's more?" "Twins," she said softly. 2 heartbeats. The doctor confirmed this morning." Darian stared at her, momentarily speechless. His mind raced through calculations, implications, responsibilities, then abruptly cleared as joy surged through him. Without warning, he lifted Marina from the bench, spinning her in a circle as laughter escaped him, uninhibited and genuine in a way few had ever witnessed from the controlled CEO. "You're happy?" Marina asked when he set her down, her own eyes bright with relieved tears. "Happy doesn't begin to cover it," Darian replied, cupping her face. "And overwhelmed, terrified, ecstatic, all at once. And I was so nervous to tell you," she admitted. "It's so soon. We haven't even discussed marriage or—" "Marry me," he interrupted. Marina blinked. "What?" "Marry me," Darian repeated, dropping to one knee right there in Bryant Park, drawing surprised glances from passers-by. "Not because of the babies, not because it's expected, but because I love you, Marina Vale. Because you've shown me what matters in life, because I can't imagine my future without you in it." Tears streamed down Marina's face. "This isn't how I expected today to go. Is that a yes?" he asked, still kneeling. "We don't have a ring," she pointed out, laughing through tears. "Details," Darian dismissed with uncharacteristic casualness. "I'm a CEO. I solve problems for a living. Ring comes later. Answer comes now." "Yes," Marina said, pulling him to his feet. "Yes, I'll marry you, Darian Voss." As they embraced, surrounded by strangers in a public park, the reserved CEO completely indifferent to onlookers, Darian realized how profoundly Marina had changed him. 6 months ago, such public emotional display would have been unthinkable. Now it felt like the only appropriate response to the joy expanding within him. The pregnancy changed everything. Darian, who had prided himself on meticulous planning and business, attacked parenthood preparation with equal dedication. Books on pregnancy and child development appeared on his nightstand. Nursery designs were researched with the same thoroughness he'd apply to corporate acquisitions. Jasper found him one evening reviewing college savings plans for infants not yet born. "You know they don't start college for 18 years, right?" Jasper teased. 18 years passes quickly," Darian replied without irony. "Financial planning requires foresight." Jasper shook his head, amused by his friend's transformation. DeBoard would never believe this. The ruthless Darian Voss researching baby monitors and diaper services during lunch breaks, and a ruthless Darian Voss is evolving, he replied simply. The wedding was small but elegant, a private ceremony in the botanical gardens with only their closest friends attending. Marina glowed in a simple white dress that accommodated her growing belly. Darian, watching her walk toward him, felt a certainty he'd never known in business dealings. This connection, this family they were creating, was what he'd been working toward without realizing it. As Marina's pregnancy progressed, Darian made unprecedented changes at Voss Enterprises. He implemented flexible work policies, expanded parental leave, and even installed a daycare center in the corporate headquarters. "Becoming a father has opened my eyes," he explained to stunned executives. "Our employees aren't just assets, they're people with families and responsibilities outside these walls. Supporting that makes business sense." The company culture gradually shifted. becoming less cutthroat while maintaining its competitive edge. Employee satisfaction scores rose, retention improved, even productivity increased, evidence that compassionate leadership could coexist with ambitious business goals. 1 month before Marina's due date, as they finalized nursery preparations in what was now their shared penthouse, Darian's secure phone line rang, the one reserved for urgent company matters. "Mr. Voss," his head of security said tensely, "there's a situation requiring immediate attention." "What kind of situation?" Darian asked, watching Marina arrange stuffed animals in matching cribs. "A man attempted to gain access to your private residence information. When questioned, he claimed to be an old friend of Ms. Vale's." Darian stepped into his office, lowering his voice. "Did he give a name?" "Eric Chambers." The name hit like a physical blow. Eric, Marina's vanished ex-fiancé, had resurfaced after 5 years attempting to locate her. "Where is he now?" Darian asked, mind racing. Security detained him. "Police are en route." "No police," Darian said immediately. "Not yet. I need to speak with him first." "Sir, protocol. Hold him securely. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Ending the call, Darian stood frozen, weighing options. Marina was 8 months pregnant with twins. Her past trauma resurfacing now could cause dangerous stress. Yet keeping this from her felt deeply wrong after all they'd built together. "Marina," he called softly, returning to the nursery. "We need to talk. What would you do if someone who abandoned you suddenly reappeared at the most vulnerable moment in your life? Should Darian have told Marina immediately about her ex's return, or was he right to investigate first? Please, my beautiful family, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're in tone with this amazing story. Would you want to know right away, or would you prefer your partner shield you from potential stress during pregnancy? Now let's continue." Marina's face paled as Darian explained. "Eric is here? In New York?" "Security intercepted him trying to locate our home," Darian said gently, holding her hands. "You don't have to see him. I can handle this." Marina shook her head, one hand protectively covering her belly. "No. After 5 years of wondering, I need answers." Her voice trembled, but her eyes remained resolute. "But I want you with me, always," Darian promised. "We'll face this together." Security had moved Eric to a conference room at Voss Enterprises headquarters. Walking through the lobby, Marina gripped Darian's hand tightly, drawing strength from his steady presence. "Are you sure about this?" Darian asked one final time before the elevator reached the executive floor. "No," Marina admitted. "But I need closure. These babies deserve a mother who isn't haunted by ghosts." When the conference room door opened, Eric Chambers stood from his chair, older, thinner than in photos Marina had shown Darian, with new lines around his eyes and nervous hands. "Marina," he breathed, moving toward her before Darian's protective stance stopped him cold. "That's close enough," Darian said, his voice carrying the authority that made corporate rivals tremble. Marina studied the man who'd once been the center of her world. The man whose disappearance had shattered her life and left her a suspect in potential criminal investigations. 5 years had changed him, his confident posture replaced by a hunched uncertainty. "Why are you here, Eric?" she asked simply. "I needed to see you," he replied. "To explain, to apologize. 5 years later, when I'm clearly pregnant and moved on with my life?" Marina's voice remained controlled, despite the emotion bubbling beneath the surface. "Your timing is remarkably inconsiderate." Eric sank back into his chair. "I just got back to the country. I saw your engagement announcement in the business section, the CEO and the art therapist. I wasn't looking for you, but when I saw that photo..." He trailed off. "So I had to come." "Where were you?" Darian asked, his analytical mind needing facts before emotions. "Your disappearance triggered police investigations." Marina was questioned repeatedly. Shame crossed Eric's face. "South America, then Asia. I was running from debt collectors, gambling problems," he addressed Marina directly. "I never meant for you to be suspected of anything. I just needed to disappear." "Oh no. You let me believe you were dead," Marina said quietly. "Oh, do you have any idea what that did to me?" "I was a coward," Eric admitted, "and too ashamed to face you with the truth, that I'd gambled away our savings, taken loans from dangerous people. Disappearing seemed easier than confessing." Darian observed the man carefully, evaluating every word, expression, and gesture. His instinct to protect Marina warred with his respect for her autonomy. "Why return now?" Marina asked. "I finally got clean, paid my debts, came back to make amends as part of recovery." Eric glanced between them. I didn't come to disrupt your life. I just needed to apologize and explain. You deserved better than what I did." An uncomfortable silence filled the room as Marina processed his words. "And I have something to say," she finally spoke, her voice finding strength. "For years I blamed myself for your disappearance. I questioned every interaction, wondering what I'd done wrong. I carried that weight while rebuilding my life from scratch." She stood taller, one hand still cradling her belly. "I forgive you, Eric, not for your benefit, but for mine. I'm releasing that burden because I refuse to carry it into my future, into my children's future." Eric's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." "No, you don't," Marina agreed calmly. "But forgiveness isn't about what people deserve. It's about choosing freedom over resentment." She turned to Darian, strength radiating from her. "I'd like to go home now." As they left, Eric called after them. "Marina, I truly am sorry." She paused at the door. "I believe you. I hope you find peace, Eric. I have—" In the elevator, Marina finally allowed tears to fall. Darian held her silently, understanding that some emotions require expression without interruption. "Are you okay?" he asked when they reached the lobby. Marina wiped her tears, a small smile emerging. "I'm better than okay. For 5 years I've carried this missing piece. Now I can finally let it go completely." Darian marveled at her resilience, how she transformed pain into growth, betrayal into wisdom. "You're extraordinary," he told her. "Our children will be fortunate to have your strength." "And your loyalty," Marina added, squeezing his hand. "Thank you for standing with me instead of deciding what was best for me." That night, as they lay in bed, Marina felt the twins kicking with particular vigor. "They're celebrating," she murmured sleepily. "They know their mom finally closed a painful chapter." Darian placed his hand beside hers, feeling the miraculous movements. "Their story is just beginning." 3 weeks later, during a board meeting Darian had insisted on attending despite Marina's due date approaching, his assistant burst through the doors, protocol completely abandoned. Mr. Voss," she gasped. "It's Marina. Her water broke. She's being taken to Mount Sinai." The board members would later describe how the famously composed CEO knocked over his chair in his haste to leave, suit jacket abandoned, priorities instantly rearranged. Darian broke several traffic laws reaching the hospital, only to find Marina already in an advanced stage of labor. "These babies aren't waiting," the doctor informed him as nurses helped him into sterile garments. "Twins often come early and quickly." Marina's face, though strained with pain, brightened seeing him. "Perfect timing. I was worried you'd miss it." "Nothing could keep me away," Darian promised, taking his position beside her. What followed were the most intense hours of their lives. Marina's strength amazed the medical team, her focus unwavering through increasingly difficult contractions. Darian, who negotiated billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, found himself utterly overwhelmed by the raw power of birth. "I see the first baby's head," the doctor announced. "One more push, Marina." Minutes later, a strong cry filled the room as their daughter entered the world, tiny fists raised as if already prepared to fight for her place. "She's perfect," Darian whispered, tears streaming unashamedly down his face as a nurse placed the swaddled infant briefly in his arms before returning her to Marina's chest for skin-to-skin contact. Their son arrived 12 minutes after his sister, slightly smaller but with equally healthy lungs announcing his arrival. "Twins," Marina breathed, exhausted but radiant, as both babies were placed on her chest. "Then we really did it." Darian, overcome by a love so profound it physically ached in his chest, could only nod. The man of countless words suddenly found language inadequate. "What are their names?" a nurse asked, clipboard ready. They had discussed options extensively but waited to meet their children before deciding. "Lily," Marina said, touching their daughter's dark, wispy hair. "Lily Hope Voss, and Alexander," Darian added, gently touching his son's tiny hand, which immediately gripped his finger with surprising strength. "Alexander James Voss." Later, when Marina rested with the twins in her private room, Darian stepped into the hallway to call Jasper. "They're here," he said, voice still thick with emotion. "Both healthy." Marina was incredible. "Congratulations," Jasper replied warmly. "How does it feel to be a father?" Darian considered the question, searching for words adequate to describe the transformation occurring within him. "It feels like everything before was practice, like I finally found what I was meant to do." "Better than closing the Steel Tech merger?" Jasper teased. Darian laughed. "That doesn't even register on the same scale. Nothing does." When he returned to the room, he found Marina awake, watching their sleeping twins with wonder. I've been thinking, she said softly as he sat beside her, about the day we met, how you were so focused on your company's visibility at that charity event. Darian smiled at the memory of his former self. I was insufferable. You were lost, Marina corrected gently. We both were, in different ways. Now look at us. He followed her gaze to their children. Found. The twins transformed their world completely. Darian, who once scheduled every minute of his day for maximum efficiency, discovered that newborns defied all attempts at predictable routines. How can something so small need so much? He wondered aloud one night, pacing with Alexander while Marina nursed Lily. They contain multitudes, Marina replied with tired humor. Especially in their lungs. They'd agreed Marina would take extended leave from her therapy work, while Darian continued at Voss Enterprises, but with significant changes. He installed a fully equipped nursery adjacent to his office. Board members grew accustomed to seeing the CEO with a baby monitor visible during meetings, occasionally excusing himself when twin duty called. The stockholders will revolt, predicted one aging executive after Darian ended a conference call because Lily had a fever, but something remarkable happened instead. Voss Enterprises' family-friendly policies, implemented by a CEO visibly balancing work and parenthood, attracted talent from competitors. Employee loyalty strengthened. The company's public image transformed from cold corporate giant to progressive workplace leader. You've created a revolution wearing a baby carrier, Jasper observed 6 months in, watching Darian review quarterly reports with Alexander sleeping against his chest. Revolutionary indeed, Darian agreed, gently patting his son's back without looking up from the spreadsheets. At home, their partnership deepened through shared 3 a.m. feedings, diaper disasters, and the indescribable joy of witnessing first smiles, rolls, and eventually crawling attempts. They have your determination, Marina told Darian, watching Lily repeatedly try to pull herself up on furniture despite tumbling down each time. And your resilience, he countered as Alexander, after crying over a fallen toy, quickly found another interest. The penthouse transformed too. Designer furniture now protected with childproofing, minimalist decor interspersed with colorful developmental toys, pristine walls occasionally decorated with tiny handprints. Your home finally looks lived in, Jasper commented during a weekend visit. It finally feels like home, Darian corrected, watching Marina build block towers with the twins on what had once been an immaculate white carpet. 1 year after Eric's reappearance, as they prepared for the twins' first birthday celebration, Marina received a letter forwarded through her attorney. It's from Eric, she told Darian that evening after the twins were asleep. He's moving permanently to Australia. Wanted me to know he's continuing recovery and won't disrupt our lives again. Darian watched her carefully. How do you feel about that? Relieved, Marina admitted. Also grateful, in a strange way. His abandonment led me to become stronger. That strength led me to you. Remind me to send him a thank you note, Darian said dryly, earning a playful swat from Marina. It's strange how life works, she mused. 5 years ago I was devastated, thinking my life was over. Now I have everything I never dared dream of. Darian pulled her close. I was technically successful but emotionally bankrupt. You showed me what real wealth looks like. The twins' first birthday party was an elegant yet child-friendly affair in the penthouse. Jasper, now godfather to both children, brought ridiculously extravagant gifts. Several women from Marina's art therapy groups attended, cooing over the babies while thanking Darian for his foundation's continued support. Most touching was Mrs. Chambers' attendance, the elderly shelter director who had once comforted a heartbroken Marina after Eric's disappearance. I always told you that your worth wasn't determined by who leaves, Mrs. Chambers reminded Marina, watching the twins smear cake on their faces. But sometimes it is revealed by who stays and who arrives. Later, after guests departed and the twins finally succumbed to exhaustion, Darian led Marina to their balcony where a bottle of champagne waited. 1 year of parenthood deserves a toast, he said, pouring 2 glasses. To surviving twins, sleep deprivation, and corporate America simultaneously, Marina laughed, accepting her glass. To our family, the one I thought I'd never have. Remember when we met? You talked about beauty and brokenness. Marina nodded, leaning against his shoulder. I remember. I didn't understand then. I saw brokenness as weakness, something to hide, to overcome. He gazed toward their sleeping children visible through the nursery monitor. Now I understand that our broken places are where the light gets in, where growth happens. Look at you, getting philosophical at midnight, Marina teased gently. I blame sleep deprivation, Darian replied with a smile. Makes me unusually reflective. Daddy, up? Alexander demanded, arms raised toward Darian, who was reviewing documents at his home office desk. Magic word? Darian prompted, already setting aside his work. Please, the toddler replied triumphantly. Beside him, Lily was already climbing onto Darian's chair without assistance. I help Daddy work, she announced, reaching for his keyboard with determined little fingers. Marina appeared in the doorway, amusement lighting her face. Board meeting in 5 minutes, she reminded him. Your tie is crooked, thanks to our son's enthusiastic greeting. Darian adjusted his tie while balancing both children. So still sure about today? Absolutely, Marina confirmed. And the center needs this funding, and the board seeing the actual impact will help secure it long term. The Eastside Women's Center, where they'd spent their first Wednesday evening together nearly 3 years earlier, was now the flagship location for a network of art therapy programs throughout the city. The Voss Foundation provided crucial support, but Marina insisted on maintaining program independence and diverse funding sources. Today marked a milestone. Board members would visit the center to evaluate expanding the program nationally. Nervous? Darian asked as they settled the twins with their regular nanny. A little, Marina admitted. It's been my dream to make this therapy accessible everywhere. They'll love it, Darian assured her. Just like I loved it when a certain art therapist showed me how meaningful it could be. At the center, Marina led the presentation with passionate expertise while Darian watched proudly from the sidelines. The board members, once skeptical of soft investments, engaged directly with program participants, witnessing firsthand how art therapy helped women rebuild lives shattered by trauma. This is remarkable work, commented Arnold Wilson, the initially doubtful board member. The metrics on recovery rates and community reintegration are impressive. Numbers tell part of the story, Marina replied. But I hope today you've seen the human impact beyond spreadsheets. The board unanimously approved national expansion funding that afternoon. And you were magnificent, Darian told her afterward, driving home where their twins waited. In perfect blend of compassion and data-driven results. Marina smiled. I've learned from the best how to speak corporate while keeping heart at the center. And I've learned from you that heart isn't a liability in business. It's our greatest asset. They pulled into their building's garage, but before exiting the car, Darian reached for Marina's hand. 3 years ago, I was the most desired CEO in this city, professionally respected but personally empty. You changed everything. We changed each other, Marina corrected gently. That lonely, abandoned woman doesn't exist anymore either. No, Darian agreed. Now you're the formidable Mrs. Voss, nationally recognized art therapist, mother of the 2 most amazing children on earth, and the absolute center of my universe. Marina leaned across the console to kiss him softly. Not bad for a rejected, abandoned woman and a workaholic CEO, Not bad at all, Darian agreed, his gaze filled with the same wonder as when he'd first held their twins. Though I think extraordinary is more accurate. Upstairs they were greeted by excited toddler voices calling, mama, dada, as little feet pattered across hardwood floors. Elegant furnishings now coexisted with children's artwork proudly displayed in expensive frames. Family photos, something once conspicuously absent, covered walls and filled shelves. This was success redefined, not measured in acquisitions or stock prices, but in little arms reaching upward, in trusts rebuilt from betrayal's ashes, in a family created against all odds. The most desired CEO in the city had found something far more valuable than corporate acclaim, and the once rejected woman had discovered her greatest worth resided not in others' acceptance, but in her capacity to transform pain into purpose, abandonment into abundant love. Together, they'd built something neither could have created alone, a testimony to love's power to heal, transform, and create new life, both in the twins they adored and in the people they'd become through loving each other. Daddy, is it time yet? Lily tugged impatiently at Darian's suit pants while he adjusted his cufflinks. Almost, princess, he answered, bending to her level. At 5 years old, Lily had inherited Marina's artistic sensitivity and Darian's determination, a combination that made her both delightful and formidable. Alexander burst into the master bedroom, bow tie askew, dark hair falling across his forehead. Mom says we're going to be late. Unlike his twins' meticulous attention to detail, Alexander approached life with enthusiastic chaos. Your mother has impeccable timing, Darian conceded, straightening his son's tie. Tell her we're ready. Tonight marked the 5th anniversary of the Voss Family Foundation, established shortly after the twins' birth. What began as Darian's corporate philanthropy had evolved into a family mission, transforming trauma recovery programs nationwide through art therapy initiatives Marina pioneered. The celebration gala would gather benefactors, program directors, and most meaningfully, graduates of their programs who'd rebuilt shattered lives through creative healing. Marina appeared in the doorway, stunning in a midnight blue gown. "Oh, my three favorite people clean up nicely," she observed with a smile. "Oh, mommy, pretty," Alexander announced, launching himself at her legs. "Careful of mommy's dress," Lily cautioned, approaching more gracefully to examine Marina's simple pearl necklace. Darian's gift for their 3rd wedding anniversary. Darian's breath caught watching them. 5 years into fatherhood, moments like these still struck him with their perfection. The powerful CEO who once measured worth through accomplishments now found his greatest joy in these small family tableaus. "You're staring," Marina noted, eyes twinkling. "Admiring," he corrected. "There's a difference." The family made their entrance at the Metropolitan Museum's Grand Hall an hour later. Guests parted as the Voss family approached, the twins walking confidently beside their parents, miniature versions of Darian and Marina in formal attire. "They're getting so big," Jasper commented, greeting them with champagne for the adults and sparkling cider for the children. "Growing too fast," Marina agreed, smoothing Lily's hair affectionately. Jasper, now married himself with a 1-year-old daughter, had softened considerably since becoming a father. "Fatherhood suits you," he told Darian for perhaps the 100th time. Who would have thought the corporate shark would become a devoted family man? "Everyone evolves," Darian replied simply. "Speaking of which, how's your paternity leave going?" The Voss Enterprises executive team watched with interest as their CEO moved through the room, stopping to introduce his children to key stakeholders. Listening attentively to program participants sharing their recovery journeys, his hand never straying far from the small of Marina's back. "'Tis a completely different person," Rebecca's replacement whispered to another executive. "But hard to believe this is the same man who once fired someone for scheduling a meeting 15 minutes late." "Not different," corrected Arnold Wilson, overhearing. "More complete. Marina didn't change Darian. She revealed parts of him that were always there, just dormant." When the time came for speeches, Darian took the podium with his family beside him, a stark contrast to his former solo presentations. 5 years ago, he began, Voss Enterprises measured success through profits and market share. Important metrics, certainly, but incomplete. His gaze swept the room. Today we measure success differently, through lives transformed, communities strengthened, and families healed. He gestured toward a wall displaying before and after artwork from program participants, stark images of trauma gradually evolving into expressions of hope and healing. Each piece represents someone who found their voice again after violence silenced them, someone who reclaimed their future after trauma threatened to define them. "This isn't just philanthropy, it's investment in human potential." Marina stepped forward, her quiet presence commanding attention without effort. "When trauma fractures a life," she said, "traditional therapy provides essential support, but art speaks when words fail, accessing emotions buried too deep for language." She smiled at her husband. "Sometimes the most unexpected people teach us this truth." 5 years ago, a CEO who claimed to know nothing about art discovered its power to heal, not just others, but himself. The twins, remarkably patient during their parents' speeches, received warm applause when Lily confidently announced into the microphone, "When we help people make pretty things from sad feelings." But as the evening concluded, Marina found Darian watching a particular program graduate, a young woman now employed as an assistant art therapist, confidently explaining her journey to potential donors. "Thinking about how far she's come?" Marina asked, joining him. "Thinking about how far we've all come," Darian replied. "Remember when corporate success seemed like the only measure of worth?" Marina leaned against his shoulder. "Remember when being abandoned seemed like the end of my story, not the beginning?" "We were both wrong," Darian said softly. "Gloriously wrong," Marina agreed. The following Monday, Darian convened Voss Enterprises' annual leadership retreat, though retreat hardly described the transformation this gathering had undergone. Where once executives met in sterile conference rooms to discuss market domination strategies, now they gathered at the company's Riverside campus, complete with collaborative spaces, wellness areas, and a fully operational childcare center. Today's agenda included traditional business planning alongside social impact assessment, an integrated approach that had become Voss Enterprises' hallmark under Darian's evolved leadership. Our quarterly numbers exceeded projections by 17%, Darian noted during his opening remarks. Our employee retention rate is at 97%, unprecedented in our industry. And our community impact metrics show 28,000 individuals directly benefiting from our initiatives. Jasper, recently promoted to COO, added, "Worth noting that since implementing our comprehensive family support policies, productivity has increased rather than decreased, contrary to what some analysts predicted." The transformation of Voss Enterprises from cutthroat corporate environment to human-centered powerhouse hadn't happened overnight. Each policy change faced resistance. Each shift in priorities required proof of viability. "We've become the employer of choice for top talent," Darian continued. "People want to work for companies that value them as complete humans, not just productive units." The statement would have been unrecognizable coming from the Darian Voss of 6 years prior, the man who measured worth through endless hours worked and sacrifices made. During a break, Arnold Wilson approached Darian on the campus grounds. "I'm retiring next month," the veteran board member announced. "And you've earned it," Darian replied. 35 years of service deserves a proper celebration." Arnold shook his head. "No grand celebrations. But I wanted to tell you something privately." He glanced around before continuing. "Cy opposed your relationship with Marina initially. Thought she was distracting you from the company's interests." Darian nodded, remembering those tense board meetings. "I was wrong," Arnold admitted. "Dead wrong. She didn't weaken this company. She helped transform it into something more sustainable, more meaningful. The old model was burning people out, creating wealth but not value. Your support has been invaluable during the transition," Darian acknowledged. "I'm old enough to admit when my assumptions need updating," Arnold replied. "My granddaughter just started in the management training program here. Under the old culture, I wouldn't have wanted her anywhere near this company." "Better world," Arnold corrected. Later that evening, recounting the conversation to Marina as they prepared dinner together in their penthouse kitchen, Darian reflected on the significance of Arnold's words. His approval shouldn't matter, Darian noted, slicing vegetables with precision. Yet somehow it feels important. Because it represents something larger, Marina suggested, checking on a pasta sauce while keeping an eye on the twins playing nearby. It's validation that integrity and compassion can coexist with business success. "The company is stronger now," Darian agreed. "More resilient, more innovative. Just like its CEO," Marina said with a smile. As the twins approached their 6th birthday, Marina received an unexpected invitation. A prestigious art therapy conference wanted her to deliver the keynote address on her pioneering work, integrating traditional therapy with creative expression for trauma recovery. "They're flying us to Paris," she told Darian, wide-eyed with disbelief. "All 4 of us. They want to showcase how family integration supports healing practices." Darian immediately rearranged his schedule to accommodate the trip. "Your first international recognition," he said proudly, "though certainly not your last." The conference coincided with the twins' spring break from their Montessori school, allowing for an extended family vacation through France following Marina's professional obligations. Standing in the wings before her keynote speech, Marina felt a momentary wave of doubt. The audience included renowned psychologists, therapists, and researchers from around the world. 6 years ago, she'd been a part-time art therapist at a struggling women's center. "Nervous?" Darian asked softly, appearing beside her. "Terrified," she admitted. "All these distinguished professionals are about to learn from the best in the field," Darian completed, squeezing her hand. "Remember when you stood up to me at that charity event? When you refused to be intimidated by my position or reputation?" Marina smiled at the memory. "I was terrified then too. Yet you spoke your truth anyway," he reminded her. "Just as you will today." When Marina took the stage, she brought not just professional expertise, but personal testimony. The genuine conviction of someone who had experienced healing's transformative power firsthand. "Trauma creates speechlessness," she began. "It robs survivors of language, locking pain in the body where words cannot reach. Art provides a bridge back to expression, a safe passage for communicating what feels impossible to say." For 40 minutes she held the audience captivated, weaving research data with moving case studies and personal insights. When she finished, the standing ovation lasted nearly 2 minutes. Later that evening, at a reception overlooking the Seine, the conference director approached them. "Mrs. Voss, we'd like to translate your methodology guidelines into 12 languages. The international response to your presentation has been overwhelming." As the conversation continued, Darian stepped back, watching with quiet pride as Marina fielded questions from renowned professionals with growing confidence. This woman, once abandoned and questioning her worth, now stood as a recognized authority whose work would touch lives globally. The following week, as they strolled through Luxembourg Gardens watching the twins chase butterflies, Marina turned to Darian with tears glistening in her eyes. "What's wrong?" he asked immediately. "Nothing's wrong," she assured him. "I was just thinking about my 16-year-old self in foster care, convinced I'd never belong anywhere. If someone had told that girl she'd someday have all this, a loving husband, beautiful children, meaningful work making actual difference in the world, she wouldn't have believed it possible." Darian pulled her close. "My 16-year-old self wouldn't have believed it either. Working construction after school, determined to escape poverty and prove everyone wrong about my potential. Look at us now," Marina marveled. "Not just successful by conventional standards, but truly fulfilled." "Because success without meaning is just noise," Darian said, watching their children's joyful exploration. "And you gave everything meaning." On their return to New York, life resumed its pleasant rhythm. School mornings with the twins, Darian's leadership at the now transformed Voss Enterprises, Marina's expanding therapy programs, and their precious family time. One Wednesday evening, they made their monthly visit to the East Side Women's Center, where everything began. Though they'd established dozens of similar programs nationwide, this location remained special, their foundation. And Mr. and Mrs. Voss. The receptionist's greeting was warmer than any corporate acknowledgement Darian had ever received. "The new group is so excited to meet you both." The new group comprised women recently escaped from domestic violence situations, their first week in the art therapy program Marina had once led and now mentored from a distance. "I'm nervous," whispered a young mother clutching her toddler's hand as Marina and Darian entered. "So was I my first day here," Marina replied, sitting beside her. "It's okay to be nervous when you're rebuilding your life." The session unfolded with gentle introductions, simple art exercises, and gradually increasing comfort. Darian, now experienced in these settings, moved easily among the women, respectful, attentive, nothing like the intimidating CEO he once exclusively embodied. Watching him help a woman mix paints while discussing her future employment hopes, Marina felt a familiar warmth spread through her chest. This man contained multitudes: the brilliant strategist, the devoted father, the patient mentor, the passionate husband. Each role authentic, each essential to the whole. Later that night, after tucking the twins into bed with stories and kisses, Marina found Darian on their balcony gazing at the city lights. "Happy?" she asked, joining him. "Heavy thoughts for a Wednesday," she teased gently. "Not heavy," clarifying. He turned to face her. 6 years ago, I thought my legacy would be Voss Enterprises. Buildings with my name, market dominance, wealth accumulation." Marina listened, sensing he needed to articulate something important. "Now I understand my real legacy is sitting in 2 small beds down the hall, learning to read and question everything." He smiled. "And in those women tonight, finding courage to restart their lives. And in you, the extraordinary person you've become partly because we found each other. That works both ways," Marina reminded him. "You're not the same man who bristled when I suggested the corner position might actually be better for his company's charity display." Darian laughed at the memory. "I was insufferable." "You were incomplete," Marina corrected. "As was I." They stood together in comfortable silence, the city stretching before them, a vastly different view than either had imagined for themselves years earlier. "You know what I wish," Marina finally said. "What's that?" "I wish everyone could understand that rejection isn't the end of your story. That abandonment can be the beginning of finding your true worth." She leaned against him. "That sometimes when everything seems broken beyond repair, you're actually being cleared for something beautiful. And sometimes," Darian added, "the most desired things, success, power, acclaim, are empty without something real to come home to." "We should write a book," Marina joked. "Why not?" Darian replied seriously. "Your story, our story, could help others see possibilities beyond their current pain." Marina considered the suggestion. From rejection to wholeness, from ambition to purpose, it could actually help people, just like you've always done, Darian said softly. Helping people transform pain into beauty. Beyond their balcony, the city continued its constant motion. Lights flickering, lives intersecting, stories unfolding. But inside their home, the most remarkable transformation had already occurred. Two broken people who found each other, healed together, and created a legacy of love that would ripple outward for generations to come. We all face moments that seem to define or limit us: rejection, failure, loss, or even success that feels hollow. What defining moment in your life eventually led to unexpected blessings? Has pain ever cleared the path for something beautiful in your experience? Share your story of transformation in the comments below. Your journey might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today, to keep believing in second chances and new beginnings. And finally, please don't forget to subscribe to Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips. Thank you for joining us, my beautiful family. Until next time, keep living your best life.